Hello and welcome to the video on para-jumbles. As the word indicates, para-jumbles is nothing but a paragraph jumbled up. That is, the sentences of the paragraph are out of order and it is your job to find the correct order, right? So in this video, we'll straight away start with CAT questions. As we try and solve them, we look at what techniques are needed, how can I make my life easier by maybe looking at pronouns, by paying attention to conjunctions, and we'll be using ideas that we have already learned in the reading course. Please go through the reading comprehension course, especially the chapter on pronouns and conjunctions and the ideas of active reading, because basically this is a paragraph and it has sentences in the English language, words there. So the more comfortable you are with reading, the more articles you read on a daily basis and patterns you notice there, easier this area or easier this application would be for you, right? So instead of too much theory, let's straight away start with a question. So a question will appear on the screen. Try it out by yourself. Try and find the right order out of the four options, that how should the paragraph be ordered according to you, and then look at the analysis involved, right? Okay, so I hope you did that. You took your time, tried the question, tried organizing it. So let's see what can we notice, what can we learn from this example. By the way, this is a CAT question, I think from 91 or 92 or from somewhere, right? But this is a real CAT question. So I hope for beginners, you have read it all. You read all the sentences fully and you used your logic in whatever way possible to find some order in these sentences, right? So I will look at what I noticed and how, if you have some experience in reading and articles, etc., very common things appear. For example, in sentence D, it says cognitive age is, right? This is a definition and introduction of something. So cognitive age is also there in sentence A. It says past research has uncovered the fact that cognitive age, right? But in D is the definition of the cognitive age. Typically, definitions come first and then the description, more research, etc. come, right? So, or if nothing else, noticing this word cognitive age is something tells you this is a definition and introduction. It also hints at that maybe your paragraph should begin with a D, right? So if I look at the options, there are two options starting with D. So I have some idea in what direction this might go, right? Now I read the sentence further. Cognitive age is a psychological construct that refers to subjective assessment of one's age, right? If I look at sentence B, I'm assuming you have read it all and you have found similar connections, but I'm looking at what the connections are, right? So if I look at sentence B, I say a person may feel, right? A person, and in sentence D, there was one's age, right? So it seems like B is a continuation of D. More detail is being given, right? And a psychological construct, psychological means to do with the mind, and there it says may feel, right? So basically I know that D and B are connected to each other, or B should come after D, right? So cognitive age is a psychological construct that refers to subjective assessment. Again, subjective means feeling, what you feel for something. Age of assessment of one's age. A person may feel young or old irrespective of chronological age. That means your age could be 40, but mentally you might feel 18 or 15, right? So chronological age is your real age and cognitive age is the age you feel. This is what the paragraph is saying, right? Again, if you're comfortable with the language, all of this stuff would be fairly easy, but still I'm covering it all in detail, right? So I know there is some connection between D and B. Let's see what other connections can I find. If I'm sure about my connection of D and B, I can actually get the answer because there is only one option with both D and B. So if you're sure about your skills, you can actually just mark the answer and move on. But if you want more details, we can find more connections also, right? So I look at sentence A, I don't read it fully. It says past research has something inversely related. Suddenly the language has become difficult for me, right? So I look at C now and it says that is, right? So this conjunction that is used to indicate that another expression of the earlier idea is going to happen, right? A difficult idea is going to be reworded, re-articulated in some other language, easier language, right? So I know also that C should come after A, right? So AC is a pair. So basically we're looking at connections between sentences and how can I find those connections, right? So now if I look at A in detail, past research has uncovered the fact that cognitive age, that I know now in my head, cognitive age is the feeling age, is inversely related to the satisfaction among the elderly. I might not be able to think too quickly what inversely means, but in C it says that is the younger an elderly person feels. So I also look at repeating words in the sentences. I look at A, it says elderly. In C also there is elderly. There is satisfaction, and there is satisfaction in C also, right? So the idea that we can learn from this particular question especially is that cognitive age is basically definition. That is a kind of rewording and trying to find connections and pairs between sentences, right? So a pretty easy question. I'm going into far more detail than necessary, but these are all the possible connections, right? That is the rewording. Elderly can be connected. Satisfaction can be connected. Not just blindly because elderly is there and elderly is there, but I see that there is a connection. There is a research scientific language of inverse in something, and then that is given in a simpler, more common layman language. So my answer for this question would be DBAC, which I could have also got if I were sure of my skills in simply connecting D and B, because there is only one option. So that is part of the exam strategy, that is part of the test taking process, that there are options given. So your life becomes easier, and obviously because there is a time constraint in the exam, using the option might be a very, very good idea to reduce your work, right? So I hope you're getting the idea. You just have to reorganize the para-jumble into the ordered sense, into some kind of logical structure, right? And a lot of times you may not have to read everything, just a few keywords, paying attention to conjunctions, pronouns, some very common patterns occurring in passages and paragraphs. Noticing those patterns will make your life very, very easy, right? And using logic. Okay, try one more question. Hit pause, try it by yourself, figure out what your answer is according to you, and then we'll go into the analysis and the answer. I hope you did that. Let's start. So I start with A. It says, it was a fascinating. I should just stop right here. It is a pronoun. I should be asking myself, what is it referring to, right? And it says, it was a fascinating, tempting green. I should be using basically I should be just going through the whole paragraph without reading, basically scanning and skimming, just looking at a few words. And if I do that, I will see that green and green, there is also green in sentence C. So I'll quickly read C. It says, while she was uncorking the bottle. I could have stopped here also to ask myself, who is she? But I again quickly see in the paragraph, there are no names given. There is no noun there. So I know that there is this pronoun. I'll not be able to find the answer, what the noun is. So continuing, while she was uncorking the bottle, I noticed how green her eyeballs were, right? It was a fascinating, tempting green. It's a very clear pair, right? C should come before A should follow C. If I just spot this much, I already have my answer, because there is only one option which has CA as an ordered pair, and that is option C. So my answer would be CADB, and only this much work was required, right? Obviously, I can notice more things now. So in C it says, while she was uncorking the bottle, I noticed, right? And what I noticed, it was a fascinating, tempting green. I saw two, right? I noticed the green part, and I saw two. So after C and A, D should come, that what else was noticed, right? So you will now connect C, A and D, and once again your answer would be option C, right? So pretty easy. Lot of time just a simple connection, if you can spot it, will help you out. So instead of reading in great detail, quickly read a little bit of each paragraph. Notice, see what your mind notices in terms of conjunctions, pronouns, what connections can be found, and be very fluid about your movement between sentences. You are actively looking for answers rather than just reading and slowly thinking, right? Same process, hit pause, try the question and then come to the analysis. So I hope you did that. It is turning off the tap. Ask yourself, what is turning off the tap, right? So if I look at scan around, I see in sentence C, the private sector. Could it be the private sector? But if I read a little more, it says private sector did the same, right? So maybe there's one more character there. And if I look around a little more, I see the government is doing, right? The government is doing the unthinkable. It is turning off the tap. So I see very clearly that D and A is a connection, right? If I look at the options, D and A is there in option 1 and option 4. So my answer is going to be one of these, right? So it is turning off the tap. And in C again I saw the private sector did the same. The same what? Turning off the tap. So did the same. Again the pronoun refers to something. And what is it referring to? Turning off the tap. What is turning off the tap means? Basically cutting off funding. Funding flows, right? You're giving money and it is coming out like water out of a tap. So if you close the tap, water comes, water stops. Similarly, the money has stopped. So the private sector did the same. So I very clearly see there is an order there. A after D and C after A. So D, A, C becomes some kind of an order and that is my answer. I don't even need to read B maybe, right? Or if I do read B, let's say in the beginning and it says and with no consensus. Just this and in 95-99% of the cases should tell me that my answer cannot begin with B. Like my paragraph should not be starting with B because there's an and is typically a continuation of something. So if I look at option 4 which starts with B, I can reject it, right? So all ideas like this, noticing pronouns, noticing conjunctions, scanning, skimming, reading for connections, looking for answers continuously, right? That is the idea. Let's try an experiment. This is again another question, but this time just to challenge your mind a little, I have wiped out parts of the sentences. I have cleared out parts of the sentences. See if you can still solve the question. It might be slightly difficult, but see if you can still find some connections with the maybe 50% of the sentences hidden, right? So I hope you tried that. Some juice started flowing in the head. Let's try the full question now. I hope you tried both the versions, right? So let's solve this question. I had heard that sort of thing before, right? That sort of thing, what sort of thing? That means my answer should not be starting with A. So straight away that rules out option 2 and option 4 for me because both of them are starting with A, right? My other options are starting with C. So I shall start with C. A young American male. Yeah, it's a good place to start. I look at B. It says he said. Who said? A young American male. And in D also, he was the son. Who? A young American male. So there is a noun and the he as a pronoun refers to that noun. The noun should come before the pronoun, right? So my answer should be starting with a C. Now I pay a little more attention. So a young American male earthling stopped by my house. Again, no need to read further because I've understood somebody has come. He was the son. This is the introduction of the person, who he is, where has he come from. He was the son. So after C, I should be going for D. If I do that much, my answer is done. My answer is C, D, B, A, right? If that is not enough, he was the son, that is further introduction, and then he said, right? And I had heard. He said, I had heard. Doesn't matter what he said, doesn't matter what I think about what I heard, but he said and I heard is another connection. So if you connect them all together, your answer should be fairly easy. Your answer should be C, D, B, A. One more question. Simple, easy, short sentences. Try it, hit pause and then come to the analysis. Very, very easy. In sentence C, there is a pronoun, it's getting smaller. Ask yourself what is getting smaller and you will find the answer. The answer is our planet. So if you ask your mind the question, your eyes do the work for you. They start looking for something specific rather than being in a passive zone of daydreaming or some sort, right? So it's getting smaller. What is getting smaller? Our planet is getting smaller. So that is one connection, right? Something special is happening. What is happening? It's getting smaller. So that is your connection. So C should come after A. A and C is a pair, right? So if you look at the options, A and C is there in option 2 and option 4. So you can eliminate option 1 and 3 for yourself, right? Again, another very common pattern in languages. Some are calling it something and others are calling it. I don't even need to read what is there because I'm not here for reading this article, right? I'm not here for reading a paragraph and have fun. I'm here to organize it, right? So I'm only interested in what helps me organize, not all of the details. So some are calling and others are calling. It's a very, very easy pair. So BD also becomes a pair. I hope you have your answer as ACBD, right? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I hope you're also noticing these are all ideas from grammar, logic and reading skills. So this is a very application orientation of all your verbal ability, your reading skills, your vocabulary, etc. We'll also see vocabulary applications here soon. Okay, one more question. Hit pause, solve it and then come to the analysis. Okay, I hope you tried that, and by now how to think is becoming clearer and easier. Chemists mostly don't stock it. What is it? If you look around, you will find that it is anti-snake serum, right? So straight away you have a pair as CA. If I look at my options, okay, CA is there in a lot of places. I notice sentence B, it says Delhi's building boom is creating a bizarre problem. This is very general. Typically our introductions are general. The idea being discussed here is general to specific. You will find it in more detail in chapter 1 of reading comprehension skills. Click the link in the cards to go to that video. Okay, so B is the most general, so I should be starting with B. Actually there is only one option starting with B, so I could have just marked my answer there, right? And if you want to look at the specifics of that bizarre problem, the bizarre problem is more people could face paralysis and death. And why is that? Because chemists don't have anti-snake serum, right? So overall, same ideas again. Pay attention to pronouns, pay attention to the idea of general and specific, right? Pay attention to conjunctions like and but and however, etc. And solve a lot of questions. Read a lot, develop a reading habit. That will go a long way in all the things that you do, not only for this exam but in your life. A reading habit is a very, very good habit. More details on that soon. Same game again. Hit pause, try it by yourself and then come to the analysis. So I hope you tried that. Not only tried that, got the answer, but notice what all connections can be made. Once again, starting with B, India could be under attack, a very general statement. So I should be starting with B, right? So there is, or I should, my probable direction of starting should be B, right? So India could be under attack from a class of germs that cause what are called atypical pneumonias. Don't get scared here. So it says, slowly a sore throat progresses, and I saw in sentence A, it begins. So I should have asked what begins, and begins and progresses is another connection. So I know A and C is a connection, right? What is it? I should have asked. It begins with ordinary fever, the atypical pneumonias. It appears like the ordinary flu. What appears like the ordinary flu? The atypical pneumonias, right? So track the pronoun and then also notice the chronological order, the order of time involved here. Begins, sorry, let me start again. Notice the chronological order. Appears first, so appearing happens, then it begins and then it progresses, right? So there is also this order of time. So I should be starting with B, then go to D, then A, then C. So my answer would be B, D, A, C. Ideas being used here, track the pronoun, notice general specific, notice the order of time, right? Very, very similar skills to reading comprehension. One more question. Hit pause, try it and come back to the analysis. Okay. Michael Hoffman, a poet and a translator, accepts this sorry fact. Which sorry fact? So I look around and in option E I find translators come somewhere near nurses and street cleaners. Now if you're like, how did I directly find this? I did not. I looked at B, it says, but thankless and impossibility is not there. He acknowledges too, that is something else. Hoffman feels something else. So I didn't even need to read all of it. I just needed to find which sentence might contain that kind of fact and then go for that sentence directly, right? So this sorry fact, the fact is there. Translators come somewhere near nurses and street cleaners. So Michael Hoffman is someone who accepts this sorry fact. If I look at C, it says he acknowledges too. So he accepts and acknowledges too is a continuation. So C should come after A. But thanklessness and impossibility, but is a contradiction because he has accepted these two things and these two things indicate thankless and impossible tasks. Do not daunt him. Hoffman feels passionately about his work, right? So this is my order: E, A, C, B, D, right? Option 3. Another question. Okay, hope you tried that. Let's start with sentence A. It says but. But is a contradiction. It's a conjunction which says that whatever follows will be in contrast with what has happened earlier. That means something has happened earlier. I should not be starting with A. That at least helps me rule out option 2 as an answer, right? So, but the last decade has witnessed greater voting. I'll not read any further. Option B. If one goes by the earlier record of midterm, I can start from here. There's not a problem here. Option C. If this trend, which trend, right? Now I have something to look for specifically. If this trend, now there is a trend in both the sentences A and B, right? In A, but the last decade has witnessed greater voting, so there is some trend there. And in B, if one goes by the earlier record of midterm elections, it is likely that the turnout will drop. So that is another trend. So what is this trend referring to, right? I'll have to read a little more. If this trend offsets the midterm poll fatigue, and midterm poll fatigue is mentioned in statement B. So this trend is not referring to the midterm trend which is in statement B. This trend is referring to the greater voting, right? So that's my connection. I get a connection between A and C. C follows after A. A and C is a pair, right? If I spot that, my answer is limited to either option 1 or option 3. So if one goes by the earlier record of midterm elections, there is a drop, but there is a contradiction. The last decade has witnessed greater voting. If this trend, so I know BAC is a pair, is in continuation of each other. So BAC I know is there. Now what should I do with D? Should it come in the beginning or the end, right? So now read D. It says, notwithstanding a good deal of speculation on this issue. Which issue, right? This is a pronoun. That means a noun should have come earlier. And what is the issue? This whole issue of midterm fatigue and this reversal of trend, right? So D should come in the end. Therefore, my answer is option 1. B, A, C, D. This last question for you. Try it by yourself. See what connection. I've already drawn some connections. See what you can notice. The idea for this question, I'm not going to discuss it. But one idea is noticing that the word crag, right? And the words mass of rock. So look at the dictionary meaning of the word crag. So the idea being that the same idea is repeated in different words. This is a very central idea from reading comprehension also. So a strong vocabulary goes a long way in being able to spot these connections. So with another huge crag means mass of rock. So I will be able to connect something. The other thing to notice would be this surely and no, and expecting something but connection, right? So try this with yourself. In the next Para-jumbles video, we'll do the same thing all over again. We'll try 10 more cat questions and see what we can learn from them. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. Thank you and see you soon.